I'm just a big teddy bear. I'm just a big teddy bear. I plant traps and weed. I'm just a big teddy bear. Yeah, she does okay. Eat it, you mother. Did you follow me? Are you gonna follow me? Why y'all want me so bad? Alright, we're going. Shit.
I'm Jill Valentine, and I'm way more famous than you two. You should not be chasing me with hatchets and saws. You're just a couple of jealous bitches because I'm Jill Valentine.
What? Why are you looking at me like that? Who are these guys? Get your ass off the gen, dude. What are you two fuckers looking at? You want some of this? You like it? Oh, he likes it. You want some more? There you go. Nice. Miss Croft. Come here. Give me a hug. Give the teddy bear a hug. Alright, well, you now.
The Dope Show. The Dope Show. The Dope Show.
Welcome all, ladies, gents, scoundrels, and everybody in between. After not really playing DBD very much over the last few years, I'm actually really feeling motivated to come back and play. Lights Out mode has returned with some small tweaks, but I still say it needs more effort. And I'm also eagerly awaiting the return of 2v8. Hopefully with a lot more content, because in my opinion, the 2v8 mode desperately needed more variety. I know it was a test run, but going forward, we definitely need more killers and more maps. Now, for the killers that were available in the 2v8 mode, I mostly categorized them as, like offensive weapons, defensive character, or, support, something just kind of in between. Now, obviously, the big mamas, the nurse and the huntress were the offensive weapons. Seeing as how Billy lost his ability to instant down survivors, I viewed him more as a support character, along with the Wraith. And then, of course, there was my man Trapper, who was just ironclad defense. So, when I was compiling this list, I used the same philosophy. So, let's get to it. Here are the top 6 killers that I would like to see added to the 2v8 mode. So, first killer on my list would be another defensive character providing slowdown via survivor manipulation, chaos, and a good amount of paranoia. The Pig from the Saul chapter. The Pig is absolutely one of my favorite killers to play as, when I have the game installed, that is. And not because I'm a huge fan of the Saul franchise, because I'm really not. Although I do love that they brought that franchise into the Dead by Daylight fold. I love Pig because it's fun sneaking around, it adds that horror element, and when you have a successful game as Pig, you get a sense of accomplishment because you're challenging yourself. She's one of the weaker killers. And putting a birthday helmet on survivors just never gets old for me. Just like snatching people from lockers never gets old, shocking people, or pushing people into well-placed bear traps. None of that gets old for me. Now, as I've stated before, I prefer the lower to mid-tier killers. The killers that can, super sprint, and teleport, and be in multiple places at once. That gets kind of boring for me, especially like if I'm steamrolling teams too much, which really shouldn't happen because I'm pretty mediocre and I don't play anymore. I like close competitive matches, no matter what role I'm playing. I'm not here for the easy wins, you know what I mean? So, why the Pig, you ask? Well, I'll tell you, if you shut the fuck up for a minute. 2v8 needs another stealth killer, and I think she's the best. Now, the shape in Ghostface would be kind of stupid in my opinion, considering how many targets they would have to stalk at the same time. It would probably just, it would end in like these ridiculous slugfest. It would just be perpetual exposure with the Halloween theme constantly playing. Now, of course, they could always make, some kind of creative adjustments to them, but I don't really care. I say the pig is the best candidate, and it would absolutely just add to the chaos by having people running around trying to get their helmets off whilst avoiding whomever the pig is whomever the pig is teamed up with. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. I also think you'd be able to pull off quite a bit of snatches due to the chaos. And let's not forget about her ambush attack. Very tasty. Now, as we saw from the test run, all of the killers pretty much shared 2 standard team abilities. The ability to highlight survivors for kicking gens if they were within a certain radius, basically nowhere to hide, and another for getting people into a chase. The other 2 were based on the killer's personal capabilities. So, for example, in terms of how they could translate pig into this game type, they could make her very similar to what the Wraith could do. When the Wraith cloaked, as long as the other killer was within a certain range, that killer would pick up undetectable. Now, I highly disagree with the range. I think it should be substantially larger. But, I don't work there, so fuck me, right? So they could do the same thing for Pig. When she goes into her stealth mode, you give your teammate a certain amount of undetectable. Next thing they could do, it could be related to her ambush attack, maybe provide the teammate with a small speed boost when you decide to use it. And as far as the amount of bear trap helmets go, I would give her 8. 1 for each survivor, and obviously you should have the option to trap the same survivor multiple times. Just imagine the DCs and salt that would create. So, just so it's not too OP, I would probably give the survivors a small little speed boost whilst wearing an activated trap. I mean, again, they'd have to, do some tweaking because, we don't want anything to be overpowered or just too oppressive. You don't want to break the game. It's a very fun game mode, but the killers need to be formidable. So for the 2v8, I definitely view the pig as more of a defensive character, but the pig is absolutely my number 1 choice for the killers that I would like to see added to the 2v8 mode. Now, next up on my list is going to be the Nemesis from the Resident Evil chapter. We need another offensive weapon. So I say, let's bring in the OG tunneler himself, the harbinger of lethal pursuer. I know you survivor mains love you some lethal pursuer. I am a huge Resident Evil fan. So when they dropped the original Resident Evil chapter, that signaled to me that Behavior was doing some serious networking and really swinging for the fences. Now, first off, let me be very clear about what I would like to see from the Nemesis. Including him in the 2v8 should not only include his zombies, but I'd say double or triple the amount of zombies on the map. Again, I like the killers that bring something with them. I like when they, kind of bring their own environment, their own atmosphere with them. Now, although I think he's an underpowered representation of the character, I still love him being in Dead by Daylight because he's a hybrid of ranged attacks, melee attacks, survivor manipulation. He grows stronger as the match goes on, especially as survivors start to run low on vaccines. So for me, he is a no-brainer to add into the 2v8 mode. So what would he bring to the 2v8 mode? Well, I'll tell you if you stop yapping for a second. So first thing is obviously the zombies on the map. You would have to share that with the other killers. So your teammate would have to be able to see the zombie auras, and they would also have to have the option to take them down, because sometimes the zombies do kind of get in the way. But I think they could also use that by allowing your teammate to take them down. I think that should also buff the Nemesis, even if it's at a slower rate. I think that could create some really cool gameplay. Now, in addition, they could do something similar for Nemesis like they did with Billy. So with Billy, when he was in his chainsaw sprint, survivors that were within a certain range of it suffered from exposure, just for a very short period of time. I think they could do something similar for the Nemesis. So, if you land a successful tentacle attack, then, just something short, maybe you're exposed for like 1.5 seconds, just something to try to set up some juicy double teams. So next thing I would add would be related to survivors that have reached a certain health status or infection status, either by the zombies or by the big guy himself. I think that survivors should be intermittently exposed and have their aura given away just for short periods of time. Again, we don't want to do anything too crazy. Maybe just something like 3 seconds, if you're suffering from prolonged infection. That's another problem I've always had with Nemesis. Like, you really want to make being infected matter. Right? So I think for 2v8, with so many survivors running around, you limit the resources, you limit the first aid. Just something to really make being infected matter. And also, we really want to make you hate your fellow survivors for burning up all that lovely first aid. Now, if you allow me to just kind of briefly rant about a fantasy concept I've always had for the Nemesis. The first time I played Nemesis in Dead by Daylight, I thought that behavior really missed an opportunity to do something unique with the Nemesis. Now, I think it would be really fun to give survivors the option to become the undead rather than having them leave the game through elimination. Now, obviously, you would retain, all of the blood points and experience that you'd earned as a survivor. But then, let's say you reach a certain infection point and you're put into a dying state. You would then have the option to take control of a zombie. Now, obviously, the player-controlled zombies would need to be augmented to a certain extent. Again, nothing crazy, but just something better than the normal zombies. Just enough to make it appealing for players to actually want to stay and participate. Just imagine how much fun that would be. Instead of just being out of the match, you can stay and earn more blood points, more experience. So instead of just being eliminated from the match, you could start hunting your buddy's flesh. If you're coming in on a full Swift team, I think that would be a blast. That's something I always wanted to see them do in Dead by Daylight. But hey, those are just my thoughts, just something I've always wanted to see. And I think 2v8 provides a perfect opportunity for experimentation. So again, we need Nemesis in the 2v8 mode. And we are already at number 3, the Doctor. Now, I would definitely view him as more of another defensive character. He was one of the first characters I learned when I first started playing this game back in the day. Again, he's one of my absolute favorites in terms of their original characters. Now, obviously, he is based off of the kind of mad scientist trope, or, professional gone mad. But so what? They have done a fantastic job with his lore and his overall design. It's very creepy. And everyone I know hates going against a competent doctor. But, if you happen to be going against me, you're usually in luck. So, let's get the obvious out of the way. A nurse-doctor combo would be an absolute nightmare team to go against as a survivor. And I am here for it. one of my favorite things about the Doctor is that he's another hybrid killer, and he brings his own atmosphere into the match. One of the coolest things about him is that even when you're hit with his ranged attacks, they don't actually inflict damage. Behavior created a psychological health state for the survivors. Now, again, I think they'd have to be really careful about what he's able to do in 2v8, because again, we don't want the game mode to be broken. But I think that there are certain things that the Doctor just absolutely has to bring into the game mode. So the first benefit would have to do with the use of the Doctor's static blast. Information from his static blast would have to be available to his teammate. And not in this form, but the actual aura of the survivor. I'd also make it so where your teammate can see the Doctor illusions. Again, all the information needs to be available to your teammate. Now, next thing I would do, which would be fun, is to build in a weaker version of the iridescent queen effect. So if you get shocked by the dock, you pick up a lingering static charge that shocks other survivors that are within a certain range. Now, only difference is I would add a time limit to it rather than making it something that lingers until it's discharged. So just kind of like a weaker version of it, I think would be fun. Now, last thing I think that is a must-have is the illusionary palettes. The maps are just packed with palettes. Like, again, some of these loops have 2 palettes on them, and it would just be a shame to leave them out with so many survivors that would be suffering from the Doctor's torment. Now, also, the illusionary palette information would have to be shared with the Doctor's teammates. Now, I feel pretty good about the Doctor joining 2v8, like as in, I actually expect that we will see the Doctor show up in 2v8 at some point. So I would be really surprised if we don't get a house call from the good old Doctor. Now, hopefully behavior will make him formidable and not just some, watered down version that nobody really wants on their team. And now we arrive at number 4 on my list, the Lich. That's right. Now, for me, he is one of the dopest characters ever added to Dead by Daylight. I think the 2v8 mode needs a powerhouse character that truly changes and enriches the experience. I mean, think about it. Are you ever bored when you have to go against Vecna? Because I'm not. Yes, I'm a big D&D, RPG, fantasy guy, but even if I wasn't, the 4v1 is just stale for me. It's just a stale, broken game mode, and that's why I barely play DBD over the years. But when I play the stale 4v1 and I have to go against Vecna, it changes it into a little, D&D adventure where you can roll a 20-side die, you can get munched on by mimics, you can listen to the Lich complain when you get something good. That's all awesome. Not to mention, you actually have to worry about the killer that's on the map. That's fantastic for me from, a survivor's perspective. Again, I like to be challenged. And even though, I personally get steamrolled in most of my matches, I still have a lot of fun playing as the Lich. So, it's almost like he was designed for the 2v8 mode, in my opinion. His dispel ability, being able to fly, Flight of the Damned, and his mage hand, these are all perfect for 2v8. And not just because of how useful it would be to the killer side, but just imagine the chaos combinations, right, of having, the Lich and the nurse, or the Lich and pig on the same map. I mean, 2v8 is, it's a really chaotic mode. It's a lot of fun. So I say, let's have some fun with it. Let's experiment. His abilities are very easy to plug into the 2v8. So you simply share the information from his dispel ability with the other killer, You share the location of the mimic food. You share the location of, successful hits by Flight of the Damned. Maybe even add some aura reading in for people that are within a certain range. And you provide a speed boost when the Lich decides to take flight. Done. Please bring the Lich to 2v8 mode. Now, number 5 on my list is the Spirit. I think the killer side needs another speedster added to the mix. And, having the Spirit running around the map would, again, create a lot of paranoia and a lot of chaos. How can you pass that up? Spirit was one of the first DLC killers that I purchased when I first started playing the game. Because I was new and I was trying to compensate for my lack of skill and map knowledge. But I quickly got bored of her, within a couple weeks, and I began gravitating towards the weaker killers. But, I still love her whole existence in the game. I love going against her because I know if the person is at least average or above, you're probably going to have a good challenging match. Now, she's really basic, so, what do we do with her abilities? How do you create a synergy with the other killer? Now, it may seem tricky, but I don't think it is, because she's just so basic. Much like Billy. They pretty much just run fast. Now, in the standard mode, of course, Billy has his instant down, but they're both really basic. They just move fast. So I don't really think it's that tricky. So for the Spirit, let's just keep it basic. You give a speed boost to her co-killer when she Spirit walks. Now, I would give her a small speed boost while she's not Spirit walking, like what they did for Huntress. So in the test run, if Huntress had no hatchets, she got a 4% boost to her speed. Do the same thing for the Spirit. And obviously, we got to give her a shorter cooldown for her power. That way she's, just constantly Spirit walking. And I would probably provide aura reading for her teammate. So, any survivor that's within a certain range, maybe something like 8 meters of her Spirit walk, you have your aura revealed. But not to the Spirit, only to her teammate. I think you keep it simple, you do those things, and the chaos that she would create would be fantastic. Again, I personally don't want them to do anything OP, because then every match is just going to have a Spirit in it, and it will quickly get boring. And here we are at number 6, one of my personal favorites, the Clown. Who doesn't love Clown? Now, I've always been disappointed that Behavior didn't do more with his Afterpiece brews, but I love playing him, and I love playing against him. Again, he's based on the scary clown trope, but they've done a fantastic job. One of my favorites of their original characters. The Clown I see easily slotting in to the 2v8 mode as more of a support character after some moderate buffs. So, first thing, they would absolutely need to increase the size of his clouds and increase the time that the clouds linger in the air. This includes the Invigoration Brew. I think this is a great time to experiment with it. I've always said that they should do more with the yellow cloud, like just add some random effects to a survivor that comes into contact with it. And again, I think the 2v8 mode provides the perfect opportunity for such a thing, because all of the killers in this mode are basically a different version than what they are in the stale 4v1 mode. So we got to make the Clown more intimidating and effective. So I'd say obviously anyone that interacts with either one of his clouds has to have their aura revealed to both killers. Now, I would also add 1.5 seconds of exposure for the pink cloud, just to give an opportunity for some of those juicy double team downs, or provide an opportunity for the clown to get a quick down. Very similar to this iridescent add-on. Now, for the yellow Invigoration Brew, I'd absolutely still allow the survivor to get the haste effect, but then I would apply some kind of negative status effect as well, something like a hangover effect or something. And they could just do anything random, you know. They could take away like one of the survivor's perks for like 60 seconds or something. You know, just do more with the afterpiece brews, at least for this mode. You know, I just think you really want to incentivize the person playing clown to, you know, utilize both versions of his afterpiece. We really want to optimize the clown for this mode and just, you know, make interacting with his clouds really matter, rather than them just kind of being something, you know, comical or something used to catch up to get a hit. You know, like I said, again, we want all of the killers to be formidable in this mode. Now, something that I think has always been missing for the clown is the lack of a reward for hitting a survivor with the bottle. You know, those direct hits. Now again, I don't have very much interest left in the stale, broken 4v1 mode. So, you know, I definitely would not hold my breath for any changes. But for the 2v8, I think it's a good time to experiment. The clown should be rewarded for direct hits. You know, especially if you land like, you know, like a headshot, right? Yeah, you know, you got this giant crazed clown that just busted a bottle over your fucking melon. Yeah, I think you should suffer from something. You know, whatever. Broken, mangled, exhaustion, blindness, whatever. You know, make it random. Make it fun. So there you have it. Those are the top 6 killers that I would like to see added to the 2v8 mode. Now, just one honorable mention, I would like to see the Dark Lord show up once we've had enough hands-on time with him and he's undergone some tweaking. Flying around the map as a bat, running around as a wolf, biting people in the ass, those are just good times to me. So that's it, guys. Feel free to leave your own top 6 killers in the comments section. Feel free to heavily critique any of my ideas. As always, I would like to thank you for checking out The Dope Show. Safely enjoy your nightlife, and remember, always be yourself. Don't worry about what the old world thinks about you. Have a good night.